What up, Naughty Steppers? It's Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel. And in today's video, I'm going to be going down a bit more of a conversational route, more like an opinion piece, if you would. And the thing that I'm going to be discussing and sort of passing off to you guys as a question is, when does an EP become an album? There's been a decent amount of talk about this recently, what with all these Kanye West produced 7 or 8 track albums. Yeah, that's right, a 7 track album. And there's something about that doesn't quite sit well with me, which led to me being inspired to make this video. And with regards to electronic music in particular, I made the EP and album distinction between 8 and 9 tracks, because I saw something like Hero Bus' 8-track project I'm Allowed being called an EP, whilst Major Laser's pieces The Mission, which comes in at 9 tracks, was deemed an album. But then you also have stuff like Mass Manipulation by Rez, which comes in at 8 tracks but is labelled an album, which made me really think about where this distinction actually lies. Does it end up becoming more about the length of the tracks themselves? Could a 4-track project where each of the songs come in at around 7 or 8 minutes be called an album? This is a conversation I was having with some friends of mine, and we couldn't quite come to a definite conclusion. And you may be sitting there wondering, thinking, well, does it even matter? Well, yeah, for me it does, because it affects how you view a project entirely. The Mass Manipulation album by Rez wasn't an album for me as much as it was just a longer EP. Just a slightly bigger collection of her tracks. I don't get any more of an album feel from it than I do from any of her past EPs. And even though it isn't the case with Rez as much as it is with someone like Kanye West, for example, I don't feel like you can call a project an album just so that it gets more attention. Which is exactly what it is with Kanye West. I mean, to be honest, it is laughable that you can call something an album when it comes in at around 25 minutes. Which for me just smacks of a massive disrespect to other musicians who have made albums that are way longer and have way more substance to them. You can't lump them all together in that respect. And the fact that Rez is coming out with another album so soon, following her previous one, is just an extension of that point. An album for me should be seen as something special. It should be the pinnacle for a musician's career. And if you're going to release several albums throughout your career, then at least have a big gap of time between them so that each release can be appreciated in and of themselves. And I know it's been about a year since Mass Manipulation, but a year doesn't really give the impression that this is some huge project or defining moment for Rez in her career. But having 2 in such quick succession, which would only happen if you are doing fewer tracks than an album usually would be, sort of bastardizes the idea of the album and puts to shame that notion of it being the pinnacle of a musician's career, as I mentioned earlier. And following on from that, you have people using the terms EP and album interchangeably, which you just cannot do because they resemble completely different things. An EP is more of a wall-to-wall collection of bangers, whereas the aim with an album is to tell a story, experiment with different genres, have peaks and troughs to it. And all because there are more songs available with which you can do those things. I see so many people calling 4-track EPs albums, and I know I shouldn't be irked by it, but it really gets to me. To be honest with those people, I think it's more a case of them being blissfully unaware or unknowing than it is about them making a distinction of sorts. So in that sense, it doesn't matter how they view it. But as we all know, words can affect how we feel and think about something, how we interpret it. And with this matter, for me, there shouldn't be any grey area or confusion because it affects the feel of a project entirely. I've also seen the term short album being bandied about recently, and God, that just makes my skin crawl. And don't get me wrong, I love people producing albums, and particularly in dark electronic music where it is a bit rarer, but an 8 or 9 track album, really? And before you bring in track length here, I mean, so what? It's all about individual different ideas existing alongside one another, 10 plus of which for me should constitute as an album. I mean, just look at Engine Block by Ordeka, for example. 7 tracks there, all of which are about 5 or 6 minutes, so it's quite a long listen, but they still call it an EP. 10 just seems like the well-rounded number from which an album should work. 10 tracks is like, yeah, that's a really solid project. 8 is just 2 after 6, and that's definitely an EP. All about that double-digit ting. But then again, this could just me being pernickety and stupid and with a completely wrong opinion that you disagree with wholeheartedly. Which is why, as I said at the beginning, I would like to pass this question off to you guys. What do you think makes an EP and an album? Is this even something you care about, or are you just in it for the music? Does the EP and album labelling affect how you view something? Surely it does, guys. I mean, I can't be the only one here. But yeah, feel free to absolutely rubbish everything I've just said. I'm really interested to know what you guys think about this. And on that note, that is it for the first opinion piece on the Nawtystep channel. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hitting the notification bell along the way so you can be notified whenever I upload to the Nawtystep channel. Next to my head, there'll be some examples of the other kinds of video on the Nawtystep channel, from EP and album reviews to top 10s and genre guides. So yeah, if you enjoyed this one, then be sure to check all of those out too. And if you haven't followed or liked Nawtystep across social media, then get on that as well, all of which is in the description box down below. And lastly, if it's naughty, then you know, guys, so be sure as always to keep it naughty and stay safe. And I shall see all of you folks in the next one. Peace out.